heart attack. Fast, fatal, hard impact. Past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions. Fact, don't ask, grab reactions. Jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused. Call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose. Pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now. Y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet now. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kure's show here. And now, before I do begin, this part, it might be long or it might be cut up. I'm covering the Kingin Annihilation Tournament. And I'm fairly certain, as many of you do know, with the way I do storytelling, whenever I go into fights, I'm not only try to be detailed, but I try to keep them the way I like them. Bloody and brutal. So, I'm either going to make this part focused solely on a few fights and then the next part on the finals, or I might cut them up into multiple parts. That way I can add a few things to the story and do what I originally wanted to do for this portion of the What If. Now, with that being said, let's just see how things go with the way I tell the story. Now, when we last left off, we had Deku. Him, Momo, Mr. Yaoyorozu, and the rest of the girls, they've all been taken to the Kingin Annihilation Tournament. And Deku, he found out that he was actually within the first match. And surprise, surprise, people were hearing the word Kure spoken twice. Now, this was very surprising for many. The fact is, they've had to deal with one Kure before. They've had to for the entire time the tournament has been going on. Never before have there been two Cures in the same Kingin Annihilation Tournament. And this year there was. And it's just off to all of them. Whenever Deku walked into the ring, everybody saw him. He was a man who he didn't show a sadistic smile, nor did he show a strange grin. He seemed normal, calm, collected, and mentally stable. And then there was the weirdest thing about him. Long hair that not only has white at the tips of it, actually does start to have white at the base of it. It's very strange to all of them. As far as they can tell, Deku is the farthest thing from a Kure they've expected. And we did actually currently have Deku's opponent. The moment the match began, they tried to throw a straight solid jab down towards him. And we'll pick up there. Now, the opponent throws the jab, as Deku does one simple thing. He goes to bring up his hand, him using the back of his left palm to smack his opponent's wrist, before sending a powerful blow upwards into his opponent, the man being sent flying as he does bounce backwards. Now, everybody does watch that. Deku, he only did two solid motions, dodge and attack, and his opponent already got sent flying across the arena, smashing into the wall. And that already shows how much power is behind this particular Kure. As the opponent, after smashing into the wall, they do go to land back on the ground. As this person does look up towards Deku and realize that they were right to get serious. If their defenses weren't all the way on, then they could have actually lost the round within that solid second. Them deciding to use their quirk. And Deku, he does watch. Him waiting for his opponent to strike. And this does surprise everybody. Deku's on the defensive, not offensive. So that's the way this Kure fights. Now, you do have where the opponent does rush back in. And Deku, he remembers what he heard. This guy, he's apparently representing some sort of company. He's large, bulky, he's wearing overalls. And then there's his quirk, the information he's been given from Mr. Yaoyorozu. This guy's quirk works a lot like fat gums, but it's different in a way. The more fat is in this person's body, they can burn off and turn into direct fuel for their muscles. In a way, it's an enhancement ability, powered through body fat. And looking at this guy, he didn't think he'd be very much. But now he understands. For a short period of time, this guy, he can possess the power of a Kure. And Deku, not only does his blood somewhat pump and get excited by that, he does actually somewhat crack a smile. The man rushing forwards as steam is coming off of his body. Him doing so with astounding speed as everybody in the booth or up in the stands are watching. And you do actually have the girls, where not only does Momo sit there with her father, everybody is there watching. This guy, he just cleared what could be best described as 50 to 30 feet in the span of 2 to 3 seconds. And there's whenever he does get in front of Deku. Him going to throw a solid jab forwards as Deku, he does actually activate his removal, bringing his hand up and dodging his, well, blocking his blow. As the man is going to throw another solid hand. Him meeting Deku halfway as Deku, he does throw a solid jab. And where Deku expected the man's hand to recoil or simply just break under the pressure of this attack, the man he actually does match up with Deku solidly for a second. Deku deciding to put more effort in, as the man he does go to try to let go of Deku's other hand before trying to bring up his leg, and being able to actually get a solid kick in at Deku. As Deku he sent skidding backwards before he does just go to dig his hand down to the ground. And he actually has someone just go to stand back up. Everybody there just off put by this. What they expect from a Kure isn't what they're getting. There's no smile, there's no sadistic rage, there's no screaming. A quiet, focused opponent. A very dangerous one. Now, the person Deku's fighting, they're aware of this. And they actually are completely uneased by this. The amount of bloodlust, the amount of, well, calmness in his expression, his face. It's so mixed. He just doesn't know how to feel about it. He both wants to run and fight. Now, you do actually have where Deku, he does actually go on his own offensive. The moment he actually is going to step off and show his true speed, it does surprise everybody. Deku basically reappearing in front of his opponent as he is going to jab his fist into this man's large stomach. Him smashing it inwards as the man is going to try and reach down and go to grab Deku. Him going to try to grab Deku's shoulders as Deku immediately threw both of his hands upwards, being able to grab this man by his wrist. And he does start to put pressure down. As he does go to start bending the man's arms backwards, as he does make the man fall forwards onto his knees. And Deku does stare this man directly, before going to throw the man's arms down and putting a lot more pressure on them and going to grab at the man's head, before smashing it downwards and upwards into his knee as he jumped into the air. The moment he did do this, he then went to go reach around to the back of this man's neck and strike him in a nerve cluster. As the moment Deku did jump backwards from his opponent, he did land on the ground. And the man, while he was on the verge of passing out or somewhat dazed and confused, he tried to stand back upwards. However, there's the way he's moving. Dazed and confused, and his vision's getting blurry. As far as he can tell, he has to go all out in the first match. He has to eat a ton after this then. That's the only way he can win. He needs to gorge himself on food if he uses all his power now. And that's exactly what he does do. He decides to just completely release all his power. Him being surrounded by smoke, as he does rush towards Deku and surprise him. Now, Deku himself was surprised. The thick cloud of smoke that covered the arena, he was waiting for it. He brought both of his hands up in a stance no one recognized. And then there was around him, surrounded by smoke and waiting, that large man. Where is he? Okay. He should attack from the front. That's what Deku's expecting. However, he does hear something. Him actually going to turn to his right to swing on a fist. The moment the air pressure does blow away the area, Deku sees this completely clear. Before he actually is kicked across the back. And the man sends Deku scurrying forwards as he just continues to try and throw a fury of attacks directly at Deku. Him actually silencing Deku with his large hand. Deku being sent flying to his left as the man is rushed towards him. Now, everybody they do see Deku come flying out of the smoke, as whenever he does go to throw his left leg downwards to try to spin back around to throw a kick, the man actually has to go to grab Deku. Being able to grab his leg in one hand and go to grab him by his other arm. Him being able to pick Deku up before he does actually try to smash Deku over his knee. Now, people are watching that. The man he does go to bring Deku upwards, and then he does go to try and jab Deku down into the back with his knee. However, Deku, whenever the man did try to do that, he did actually go to activate the advance. Him being able to spin his arm around as it is dislocated. The moment Deku actually is going to spin his body around, he does going to use the tip of his fingers, slashing downwards into the top of the man's kneecap, as the man he actually does feel an immense amount of pain. And then Deku, he does going to do one simple thing. Using his free leg, he does go to spin it around and kick the man directly in the chest, most likely not only damaging a few ribs, but causing this man's heart to go on a regular heartbeat. Now, the man, while he's sent flying backwards, he does drop Deku. And people do actually watch as Deku, after him landing on the ground and going to shake himself off, they do see his arm. His arm is twisted and mangled. The way it does look, it's just longer. And then Deku does go to do something that does surprise everybody. He goes to bring up his arm as his wrist, or the point of his elbow, it lies just a little bit underneath where it should be. Deku straightening out his arm as he does use his other hand to pop his bone back into place, as the man does stare at Deku. Now, the man does go rushing in, as he decides to put everything into one solid attack. The moment Deku does see this man rushing in, Deku blitzes him, and decides to end this fight now. Since, while the man is powerful, he clearly isn't on the level of a Kure. He's tested him already to see what he can do. This man, his defenses were supposed to be the strongest from what he's heard. However, Deku finds that they're lacking. And then there's his offense. The bulky frame and the way he's been moving this whole time. He does have excellent agility. However, his strength and speed, they're both admirable, but not on his level. Now, Deku immediately rushes in, him able to reach upwards and go to grab the man by his face, slapping him in the ears as he doesn't go to grab the man by his hair. Him pulling the man down as hard as he can as Deku does pick the man up after throwing him over. Deku then going to throw him upwards into the air as he's going to smash him back down onto the ground. Now, after that does happen, Deku he does start to walk away. Him announcing to the referee that his opponent is not going to be conscious for quite some time. And the man he does watch Deku walk away. Him surprised that Deku he just finished the match that fast. Him going to check on the man and finding that not only did Deku break the top portion of his spine, he damaged and possibly destroyed his eardrums by popping them. And then there's the fact that this man, after at least going to check his vitals, they find that his heartbeat doesn't seem normal, and he's quickly rushed away. As Deku does return to the area with Mr. Yairuz and everybody else, them all being quite surprised. Now, Deku, he does pay attention to that, as they all do see him. The way he's acting is completely differently. And then there's the way he used those attacks. It seemed very strange. But we do have Deku thinking. Right then and there, he had to resort to a technique. One he hasn't used in a long time. He had to slash open the man's leg. And the fact that he even resorted to that technique shows exactly how much more difficult these matches are than he already previously thought. Now, Deku stands there, or sits there rather, and watches his opponents, waiting. and he's quite curious as to what exactly he's going to be dealing with. As Mr. Keiruzu, while Deku is leaning forward to watch the next match, he does make up Deku's slight smile, turns into somewhat of a toothy grin, before he's somewhat going to shrink back down, where Deku does cover his teeth with his lips. Now, he is waiting, and everybody they do watch Deku somewhat intently, as you do actually have Kirishima. She saw the way Deku moved, the way he acted. Not only was that very different from their training, what she observed was vastly different. Deku, he struck through the man's defenses like they were nothing. And she can tell just by the sound and intensity and the wind pressure coming off of those attacks, Deku was serious. He was holding back during their sparring matches. And that does sort of rub her the wrong way. She thought she was catching up, but really the gap kept widening. Well, it was shrinking to what she thought first, it wasn't. And right now, that does annoy her. Now, Deku watches the match between his uncle and another opponent. And whenever this match does actually come up, Deku, he does get a turn towards the girls, informing all of them that what they're about to see is something they all really might not want to look at or stare at for too long, since this is how a Kure would usually fight. Now, Deku does go to stand up, as he does walk out of the room. Now, the moment Deku does leave, everybody there kind of surprised. They didn't expect that. However, we do actually have in the hallway, where Deku, he went to a water fountain and he started splashing cold water in his face. He has to remember, stay calm, stay collected. Remember the training he went through. If he snaps and breaks, it's going to be for nothing. And then there's this feeling inside him. That thing, it's trying to get unchained. It's trying to get out. He can feel that inner Kure desire. It's not just popping up to the surface. It's boiling. It's on fire. Whatever is inside him. This urge to kill, this urge to fight. It's boiling up. It's gonna come to the surface soon. And right now, Deku's trying with all his might to suppress it. Now, Deku, while he actually is in the hallway, he does actually watch as, let's just say, Mina, Kendo, and Momo, they all do come running out of the room. As the moment Deku does turn his head, he does walk back down the corridor. As he does ask if all of them are okay. Them actually trying to express to Deku what they saw. And Deku, he does just inform them that that's what a Kure does. And all of them, they do just stare at him. Ryan, they saw it. Within the span of the minute the match started, he tore his opponent apart. He played with them. He toyed with them. And he didn't show mercy. It was like a kid tearing the wings off of a butterfly. It just didn't seem right at all. Now, you do actually have where Deku, he does start thinking. He should have known bringing them could have been a bad mistake. Sure, showing them footage of the better fights would have been good. Now, Deku knows from personal experience. Everything they're seeing, they have to witness it with their own eyes. If they see footage or second-hand accounts of these brutal battles, it won't have as big as an impact as he wants it to. In a way, this is a form of training he's done. But at the same time, Deku feels strange about all of it. This feeling in his chest he's getting. It isn't pain, but it feels like it's weird. Now, Kendo, she actually just watched the expression on Deku's face. Him bringing his hand up to hover over his heart. As Deku does apologize to all three of them. Trying to give an explanation as to what they need to do. Now, all three of them, they do listen, as they do hear Deku express that he himself has seen events like this before. He was made to witness them by not only his uncle, but from his grandfather and his mother. He's been exposed to this type of violence ever since he was a child. And right now, after everything he's gone through, this violence feels different. He doesn't feel numb to it. In fact, he has this feeling in his stomach. He has these strange feelings. He doesn't know how to describe them. And you do actually have where the three of them, they do somewhat sound surprised by this. They want to try to express to Deku what these feelings might be, but at the same time, they don't really know. He might be feeling disgust, anger, rage, or they could be on the opposite spectrum. If Deku is a Kure, he might be enjoying what he saw. Now, all three of them, they do go to walk away. They're just going to go use the bathrooms real quick and try to gather their thoughts about everything they saw. And as the three do walk away, you do actually have where Kirishima, she was actually on her way out. However, she did want to give those three some time to themselves. Her walking out of the room just as the girls did round the corner. And she actually does step out to see Deku, who he was right there in front of the door. Now, Deku, he does try to go back to what he was like before, as he does want to push past her and get back into the room, since he still knows that there's time before his battle it does come up. Now, she does bring her hand up and close the door as she does try to guide Deku back into the hallway. And this does surprise Deku. While he does follow what she's doing, since he doesn't want to hurt her, she does actually open her mouth. She expresses to Deku that she heard everything, and she knows that they might not want to try to say it to him because of what they just saw. But Deku, what he's feeling, it's normal. What Deku's feeling, does it feel like it's painful? Deku expressing that yes, it does. And she does actually ask if Deku feels like he needs to hide. To which Deku, he does actually say kind of. And this is where Kirishima, she does actually inform Deku. What he's feeling is disgust. What he's feeling is, well, regret. What he's feeling is a mix of emotions that they all do basically mean the same thing. Deku, he hates what he just did. He doesn't like it. What Deku just did, he thinks is dishonorable. That's the best way she can put it for him to understand. Now, Deku, he's kind of surprised. He does start to understand these words, but at the same time, his emotions, while he is understanding the peaceful side of them, and now he's understanding all this, they're the same emotions he felt whenever he felt regret. Okay, but there's this other emotion, he doesn't know how to express it. And this is where Deku, he actually has learned something. Kirishima should just step forwards, informing him that emotions are normal, and that she can help him. Now, Deku does hear this, as he actually does somewhat just reach his hand out and to grab onto Kirishima, him pulling her in and into a hug. As Kirishima, she does somewhat just freeze up for a second, before asking if he's alright. To which Deku, he doesn't know how to express. Right now, his emotions, he's buried them, and he's just now letting them resurface. Well, he's been trying to ignore them. He can't. And he does actually ask her about this other particular feeling he does have. And from what she can hear about it, it sounds like it's an interest. But it's not just some sort of martial arts interest or anything like that. Deku describes the feeling about wanting to be around all of them more. He wants to spend more time with them. And Kirishima, she does quickly realize Deku, he might have a crush. He might have romantic feelings. And she just found it to be kind of out there. Especially after what she heard earlier. With the whole harem thing that Deku's sister described. Well, that is weird. It does kind of make sense if you look at it from how her perspective was. Her elder brother is surrounded by a bunch of women who they do seem visibly strong. Yeah, she kind of does get the confusion there. But then she actually is going to do something that she kind of doesn't think about. After at least Deku does express everything like that, and he does get to somewhat pull back, she does actually lean forwards. And she does give Deku a kiss. Now, this does actually catch Deku off guard. As after she does step backward, she does quickly go to turn back around, walking back into the room as Deku is left standing there. He doesn't know what to say. I'm going to bring his hand up, as he just does think, was that? No. Wait. That feeling. All that. The smell. They. Her lips were soft. That's what all Deku can really think. However, he does go to bring his hand up, slapping himself in the face, talking about how he needs to focus. And right now, he can't think about whatever that was. As Deku is trying to regain his composure, you do actually have where he does hear his name being called. As it's announced that Izuku Kure is now facing off against this opponent. And Deku, he does go walking towards the ring. As we do actually have somebody who was actually sitting around the corner, just out of view, and they were listening and watching the conversation. And they're very disappointed in this Kure. They don't believe he's chosen correctly. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. And have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.